Yeah, walk me through the pre-flight briefing, and let's do this.
All right,
thing.
so P51D.
Yep.
12,300 of these things were built essentially throughout the war, counting the A's, the B's, the C's, D's, H's. This airplane was built in Los Angeles. As the true D, it's got the Rolls-Royce Packard Merlin in it, 1,490 horsepower. Airplane uses about 66 gallons an hour at cruise, which is 36.
That's not as bad as I thought it would.
Uses over 200 at takeoff.
Well, sure, yeah.
So,
you know, she likes the gas.
You can have as big a chevron bill as you want. The fast cruise of the airplane up high at 25,000 feet is 437 miles an hour. If I could talk this morning. It's a delightful airplane to fly. We cruise usually around 275 indicated, something like that.
That is cooking.
Under 5,000 feet, something like that. We're in the traffic pattern area. We have to slow down because we have some speed issues with ATC, but.
That's the ultimate awesome.
They give us some latitude though, because to be safe we need energy, and so a little caveat in there where we can go a little faster because if we need energy to go high and make the runway, they give us a little bit of latitude on that. So, but we don't abuse it.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we generally take off on a calm wind day on 3-1. I normally make a left 270 departure, so we've got plenty of runway underneath us if we need to come back. We run down the valley. We go down past Thermal, Sultan Syria, and we kind of demonstrate the airplane and kind of show people what the characteristics of it are like and what it how it flies and kind of what it does. You'll notice the airplane operates super smoothly with the 12-cylinder into the V12. It's just smooth as can be. You might think it'd be a little more rattly like maybe some of the radials, but it's just super smooth, super nice.
Is this the supercharged?
Yes, this engine has a 2-stage, 2-speed supercharger.
That's what I'm talking about.
And so the way it works is it's got an updraft carburetor, pressure injects the air and the fuel mix into the aft turbocharger, boosts it up, moves all that mixture into the second stage, second supercharger, goes through an aftercooler, and it goes into the induction trunk.
Oh, wow.
At 17,000 feet-ish, they used to have an aneroid barometer that would actually shift it into the second speed for you. Those have been pretty much disconnected because it's a pretty violent shift if you're running power and a thing. So what we do is we pull it back to about 20 inches, shift the supercharger, the toggle switch, and then the thing will go like that, and then you shift it back up to 36 inches. The thing will go to 41,000 feet. I mean, it's amazing. And that was designed and built in 1935-ish, by Rolls-Royce.
So piston engine to
so
go to 41,000 feet.
It's still like the highest performing, piston engine that I don't know. Centaurus had some advancements, but that thing was amazing. And they could also run water injection on them too. It was just called ADI, which they would run on maybe some of the Dash 9, some of the later engines. But it's an amazingly fabulous airplane. The internal fuel is 190 gallons, and so it's about a 3-hour range, something like that. So 2 hours plus, you start wanting to land somewhere, and that's going to be 650 miles across the ground, maybe more depending on the wind. So it's a nice distance to just fly 2 hours and land, take a little break, and then go again.
Now, what is the air for the engine? Does it come in down there?
No. So good question.
Interesting.
So
okay.
The inlet air for the carburetor is here.
Okay.
And there's some air boxes inside. If it's super cold, you can use warm air instead of the ram air. This ram air does supply additional manifold pressure just with the speed the airplane flies at.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a pretty neat deal. There's actually a little guillotine in here. You can shut this off if you're in big rain or whatever, and it'll run on the internal air. So you actually lose a little bit of manifold pressure with that. Underneath the airplane is, we call this the scoop. And inside the scoop, there are actually 3 cooling, systems.
Like
the main
radiators,
radiator. Mm-hmm. The main radiator has 2 sections in it. One's for the engine coolant itself, one's for the aftercooler. It's in the same block, and they're partitioned off, and they just flow back and forth. Engine coolant goes to the header tank, through the engine, and back down to the radiator down here. Below and in front of that big block is an oil cooler, and both of those cooling blocks have fins on the back of the airplane, and so the airplane has a little black box that controls each of those 2 fins underneath.
Oh, so down here, these big shovels.
Yeah, these outlet doors. Yeah, so the forward one is for the oil, and the aft one is for the both coolants, the engine coolant and the after coolant.
Oh, interesting.
And
okay.
so the little black box tries to keep the oil at about 75 degrees C, something like that. And the black box for the coolant tries to keep the main engine coolant at about 100 C. And so we can take those out of automatic and run them manually to fine tune them if something is not working quite right. That door can also open another 6 inches or so. So if something happens to the black box system, then we can open the door like another 6 or 7 inches. Have to pretty much land in because the coolant temp will really dive, hopefully at that point. So it's a little bit more system-oriented airplane than maybe flying a T6 or something, because you do need to make sure you keep those temps properly within ranges, otherwise you'll have some problems. Of course, all 3 gear retract. You know, when we,
oh yeah, that was
launch.
one of the big questions. Does the tail wheel on this retract?
Yes, sir. So
yes,
it retracts,
it
and that's the first thing that retracts. It goes up and down super fast, just like almost now you see it, now you don't.
Beep.
And the mains take about, I don't know, 8-9 seconds to come up, something like that. So yeah, so the airplane has a steerable tail wheel. If the clutch head is engaged to the top of the tail wheel assembly, it locks it to the rudder. So you get about 12 degrees left and right, something like that. And then if you need to maneuver in a tighter space, push the stick all the way forward, it pulls the declutching pin out, and you can spin it around to differential braking. So super nice airplane and ground handle. It's got a nice wide gear, works really nice.
I mean, there's lots of questions that's happening here. And just to break it down a little bit, we're talking almost 1,500 supercharged horsepower
Correct.
up front.
That's right.
Going over 400 miles an hour. And you land faster than most training airplanes will fly.
Correct.
That's what I'm talking about.
Another statistic that I really have fun with people that are pilots is I'll ask them, say, hey, what do you fly? Hey, 172, 182, whatever. What is your first notch of flaps deploy at? And they might say 105 or whatever, 400. So the whole scale is just mind-boggling.
How 400 miles an hour, you're like, click.
Yeah. So it's just a whole nother kind of level of performance, right? So.
Jeez, that's awesome. Oh, fantastic.
All right, should we load up?
All right, so we have to do a legal thing right now because this is not a normal flight, by the way. We get to do some funner things that most normal people that would come and to the Palm Springs Museum get to do. I mean, Tom, we haven't even had our first date yet.
I know, right? Okay.
Oh.
All right, and this goes across your chest here, ultimately. Okay, so the normal ride we do is called LHFE, which stands for Living History Flight Experience. Thank you. And so those are rides that with our program we have with the FAA, we basically can sell flights to the public. We can share these experiences with the public so they can ride in a World War II fighter. And they're super popular. I mean, we have people here in the wintertime, we can do sometimes 4 or 5 a day.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's just super great. We have a lot of people that come here for the winter, and the airplane, I forgot to tell you earlier, the airplane commemorates a gentleman named Lieutenant Colonel Bob Friend. He had 142 combat missions, mostly in Ramatel, Italy. He flew P-47s, P-40s, and Mustangs. This was his favorite type airplane. So this is not actually the same airplane, but it honors his service. Bunny was his fiance when he went to war.
Interesting.
Came back, they were married for a long time. And he lived in Irvine, and I don't know who adopted who, but we were blessed to have him kind of be our, I don't know, I'd say maybe our mentor and our link. And fabulous gentleman, spent a lot of time here, flew in the airplane quite a few times. And he passed in July of 2019, 99 and a half years old. We almost got him to 100.
Whoa.
And we were hoping to just have a tremendous party when he hit 100. And we were going to try to have everything he ever flew here. And so anyway, he's a great memory that we all have that knew him. And so we campaign the plane every day in his honor when we do it. So
awesome. That's fantastic.
All right.
Are we ready to get in the aircraft?
Yes. So
6 50 cal machine guns on this thing. These are not real, actually, but they're there. And then make sure not to.
Non-skid right here. Hold on to the side rails.
Yeah.
And what you want to do is swing your right foot in as far over as you can.
Okay.
Bring the left foot in. When you're standing, slowly sit on down with that parachute. Do not hold on to the seat when you sit down because the seat moves. Take your time, mind your head.
All right.
Fantastic.
Kerblam.
You are back there. All right, sit back, relax.
I will say this is the first time I've been in a seat where I didn't have a stick.
Oh, sorry. Are you feeling a little vulnerable?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Mixture's idle cutoff. Sticks unlocked. Okay, we're gonna go off. Let's go off the right tank. It's our fuller tank today. And go ahead and I'm gonna turn on the battery. Jimmy, push to talk is on the cord, okay? Okay, so battery's on. We got a green light. Fuel boost pumps coming on, and I get about 15 pounds here on this one today. It's interesting. Okay, I'll go ahead and prime at 6 seconds for a cold start. Okay, starter is engaged. Clear prop. Okay, when it fires, we'll go. Try that again. Couple of short more shots of prime. There you go, clear.
Echo Bravo, 31 right, 151 Bravo Pop, thank you.
1 Bravo Papa, departure frequency 126.7, squawk 4607.
Okay, 4607 on the code and 126.7 for departure, thank you, sir. 1 Bravo Papa.
That's amazing.
Jet 422 SoCal approach, Palm Springs altimeter 2987, expect visual approach runway 31 left, descend and maintain 9,000. For 680 Yankee, ready to contact 3 miles east of Palm Springs, VOR 4,200, altimeter 2987, what are you climbing to? Alright, November 851 Royal Mike, unfortunately looks like your flight plan did time out. I can't get it to repopulate now. Is it easy for you to refile? I'm in the air, but I did get a reply back from ATC that they had accepted the 10 o'clock refile, so I don't know what's going on. It's weird, okay. You know what, here, stand by real quick. Let me, I'll probably just do a manual handoff to the center, and they may have to just fill in for you. It's way easier to do on their side than our side here. So just continue up to Yucca, maintain Charlie Alpha, join Victor 386. This is my dive bombing fab. That's a little nice. Rest route unchanged. Run and maintain 1000. Expect level 430 on 10.
Oh, very cool.
A dive bomb. Let's bring it up and then turn it out.
Hotel approach, Silver 784, checkpoint sending, 10.7 descending across.
Good job.
Thanks so much.
You did it. Good
Yeah.
job.
That was good times.
That was very fun.
Good
Up
times.
there?
Yeah. And on the bonus note for the video wise, yeah, the GoPro went dead about 10 minutes into the flight. Oh, and my headset went dead too. So we got no audio, no video, which means we're gonna have to go flying again someday. That's what that means.
We do.
That's what that means.
Yeah, it was fun meeting you
so
guys.
much. Yeah,
Can't
you
wait
as
to
well.
see some of your videos on your website. And
While we're here in Southern California, Los Angeles, we are at the Palm Springs Air Museum. First building we come in, we're gonna work our way through time. Why? What's?
It's a P53 Kingcobra.
Okay.
And first of all, you don't climb in the cockpit. You got doors just like your SUV, your car. Open a door, sit down.
Oh, look at that!
And next thing, look where the engine is behind the pilots in the middle of the plane.
Oh, weird. I didn't even notice that.
And then it's got a long drive shaft, gearbox to turn the propeller, and behind Pretty Polly, where the engine should have been, was a 37mm cannon that sits out of the front part of the nose.
Did it used to shoot out right between the spinner?
Right, a 37mm cannon. It didn't have a lot of range, so the military, the U.S. Army didn't like it. So what they did was they gave a lot of these to the Soviets. You didn't need a lot of range to get to the front line of the Soviets. A lot of women flew them. 37mm is enough to knock out German tanks. This one still flies. It just came back from the Reno Air Show, won third place. One of the
Really?
places, yeah.
Oh, wow. That is super neat.
And step around here. The only plane in the entire museum that actually flew in combat in World War II is the Blue Nose Spitfire. That plane flew in combat. It was built in '44. It flew a couple of missions in France. There's a little bigger engine, so you got 5 blades instead of 4. They're made out of wood, and because it's British, it turns counterclockwise and not clockwise.
Of course, they got to drive on the wrong
You
side of the
gotta
road,
pay. You
spin the
gotta pay,
propeller
right.
on the wrong way.
Sure, why not?
So that plane flew in World War II over
Correct.
in France, you said? Or?
Yes. Well, it flew from England to and did a couple of missions in France.
Wow. That is super neat, super neat. Is that an old chipmunk or something back there? What is that thing? That blue and
Oh yeah,
yellow?
it's a training plane. It's a British, Canadian trainer.
Yeah.
What's it doing here? Whatever.
It's a neat old airplane,
Yeah.
sure. So that is super neat. This airplane still flies. They flew it in here like a week ago because it was at the Reno Air Races. And as he was saying, it had a gun, a 37mm cannon that came out of the middle of the spinner. So they took the engine that normally would go right here, and they pushed it all the way back to there. And then you have, a car door that you climb in to get in here, and a drive shaft that goes right down between your legs as the pilot, which that's a little nerve-wracking, and a big old honking gun in front of you. That's pretty stinking fantastic. And right away, you can tell that these airplanes fly, because look, they have a bathtub for the oil and fuel that leaks out of them. And it doesn't leak, it seeps. The big radial engine dripping here. If it's not dripping, that means out. Oh, that's what I love to see. That tells me this thing is actually working. In my humble opinion, I don't think a museum should have perfectly pristine presentation pieces. I think they need to have stuff like this that's got scrapes and bumps and bruises because it's still working. Oh wow, look at that. The coolers are on both sides. Instead of one big one in the middle, they put 2 of them on each side. Crazy. The Supermarine Spitfire. This one actually flew during World War II in war missions. 2,000 horsepower. So this engine has more horsepower than the P51 Mustang. Golly. Oh, look at all the artifacts over here. Lots of German stuff. And you got arm badges and stuff, rifles. 1945. So a lot of the World War II troops, as they were liberating, would take this stuff and shove them in their uniforms and smuggle them home. Oh, look here. There's a passport. Whoa. Show me your papers. Because Germany, they printed paper money And then by the end of the war, the paper money was completely worthless. It was cheaper to burn the money than it was to buy firewood. That's how bad it was. Reminds me a lot of what's happening today. Which is why, yeah, here's a quick plug. They weren't even asking for it. Legacy precious metals, silver, gold. Use your retirement account to invest in those back things or buy the physical stuff for you. That's what Jimmy does. That's where, because of that kind of paper money printing craziness that we're doing today, like buying groceries, how nuts is that? Yet silver, gold kind of keeps it a little bit to be able to transfer it. And we've had 5 currencies in this country before. We're gonna have a 6th. So just you know, a little quick plug, Legacy Precious Metals, there you go. That's a nice vintage bottle of 19 whatever. Oh, it's a Red Baron. World War I fighter ace of Germany. So this airplane's, I think this is a Chipmunk, and it uses the same Ranger 440 inverted, so all the cylinders are upside down. This is what's in that little SAL Mustang that I bought that's in Texas. And you know, quick update on that since we're here. Yeah, I have not went back to go look at it since then, and I don't know what to do with it, frankly. But I'm hoping maybe on our trip home we'll be able to swing by, take a look at it, see if it still exists, and try to figure out what the heck to do with it. Maybe we can find somebody to like trade it off to or something. I don't know. Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay. So something super neat. This is, I don't know if this is a remock or a real one, but they used to build these one-time use gliders. They would tow them behind a bomber or DC-3 or something like that, and they would tow them in with a whole bunch of troops, and they would glide in, land, and then they got out and started fighting. They were a disposable glider. How would you like this? Like, you're a pilot of a glider. You don't have... I could not even begin to imagine what it must have been like. I mean, like, all right, we're gonna go over enemy territory, and clip, and now you just glide, and it's quiet, like that. And then you're just landing where the bad guys are, and you get out and just start shooting. So that blue Stearman over there, they normally give rides in, and right now it's in maintenance for its annual inspection. I'm not sure what story with this one is. I think this one still flies as well. Whoa, look at that. It's a Lycoming 145. Whoa. Radial, what do we got? A 2800 Wasp engine, 2 stacks, and one really big honking crankshaft. And to think, the Spruce Goose was a 4 stack. So take this, put 2 of these together. That's 1 engine on the Spruce Goose. B-17. Okay, so a weird little bit of Jimmy history that was kind of strange at the time. Well, these are like regular bombs, but at the Dayton Museum in Ohio at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, they have the actual Enola Gay that dropped the bombs and stuff on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. I was standing there, and they have copies of the bombs too. Fat Albert, and Little Jim or something like that. And I was standing there looking at it, and there was a really old guy that came up, and he was standing there looking at it, and he goes, yeah, that's what they look like. And I turned over and I said, how do you know? He goes, I was the co-pilot that dropped it. And I'm like, what? It's crazy. So is this, we go in that way and take a peek around, or?
There's stairway in the back, you'll exit out
Okay.
in the back, but give it a couple of minutes till these tykes get out of here.
Yeah, so we can hear ourselves. Yeah.
You know quite a bit about the B-17.
Well, walk us through. So, yeah.
So this was a controversial airplane when it was developed. In 1934, Boeing designed this, working with the Air Corps at the time, and it was to do something that had never been done before. The whole purpose of this plane is to be a strategic bomber. Never been done. Strategic bomber. Now there have been other bombers before that day.
Yeah, what's the difference between a regular bomber and a strategic
other
bomber?
bombers, the bomb troops, bomb villages. Strategic bombers that take out the enemy's ability to make war. In other words, we take out their factories that's making airplanes. So this was controversial because several reasons. Number one, those targets we're talking about, like in Nazi Germany, it's deep in Nazi Germany territory.
So it had to fly a long ways to get there.
Number two is technology of the day. It had to do that in the daylight because they had to visually see their target. And we can talk more about the bomb sight and all that. You may know about the Norden bomb sight, but we'll talk more about that. So huge plane flying, 1,000 miles in, 1,000 miles back, whatever, depending upon the routes they took. Very vulnerable. So many said it would never work. But as you go through, you're going to see there's like a bubble of protection around this plane of 50 cals.
Wow.
So look in there closely, and then you're going to have to turn to your right and crawl just a few feet, and they're going to pop up way up there behind the pilot and co-pilot. We'll talk more there.
Okay.
Watch your head as you come up. There's hard points here. I got to get up between all this stuff. The pilot on the left, co-pilot. The pilot would typically be, say, 23 years old, rank of either a lieutenant or captain. Not only was he the pilot, but he's also the commander of the 10-man crew. He was in charge. So he had to have some understanding of all these positions. There was even a saying, when this thing was in practice in the desert, they were getting so accurate, so good at it, they even joked, I could drop a bomb in a pickle barrel. So when they got over to Europe, it didn't work out quite so easy, but they used that term. Okay, I can see the pickle barrel, but when they're actually on a mission, where all these factories are, they are heavily armed by aircraft guns. So they're getting shot at. That plane's bouncing around, and all kinds of other variables happening. So it's not quite as accurate as it was, in the lab, if you will, or in the desert where it was practiced. But still, it did a good job. It took a lot of skill for those bombardiers to get good at it. At first, they weren't so good. The accuracy was not so great. But there was another guy whose position was right here. This is the flight engineer. The flight engineer makes sure the plane's operating well. That's kind of his job. But like these other guys, he has a second job. He operates its top turret. Now there's a piece that's missing, so we can easily get there's a hand that comes right here. He puts his foot up in there, and his head's up in here.
Oh, that makes sense.
And this may look like an Xbox controller, but it's not. This is a real deal. This is an electric turret, and it rotates 360 degrees. Right now there's 250 cals are pointing behind us right now, but they come up. So what can happen is the way this rotates and it comes up, they can protect the plane from any fighters coming from above. So that's what the flight engineer does. Okay, so I mentioned when they get about 3 minutes from the target, open the bomb bay doors, and when he sees that target, he hits a button way up front, and it releases the bombs back here. So this is the bomb bay, and there's really just these 2 racks of bombs. This plane would typically have 6,000 pounds worth of bombs. It could vary a little bit depending upon the distance of the mission and the weight of the plane, other variables, but around 6,000 pounds worth of bombs. So he'd hit that button, and they would all drop at once. Now you think that sounds like a lot, but what we found early in the war is if you just hit a factory with a few of these B-17s, they could quickly recover and they're up in production again. They can move machines around, do whatever they need to do, and get back into production. We had to annihilate those facilities. So what they learned is they needed dozens of these on a mission. At times there were missions where there were hundreds of these.
Oh.
So if you want to have a seat, these are the real seats of the day. This is, they're bolted down. It's not, I guess you can see they're business class seats. It was all business. So again, that's what that is. Okay, so what you see here, these are called the waist guns. Now why do they call them waist guns? Think of this where we are on the airplane, it's like the waist of the airplane. 50 cal M2 Browning machine guns. These guns were used actually before the B-17 and other applications, and they are still used today by our forces. So important gun. Now, you can see the
Modus.
the ribbon. Yes, exactly. You see the ribbons, and then the ribbon all the way up in that box there. Now, the way that this worked is they only had so many bullets because there's a lot of weight to this, so they only got allocated so many. What they really had was 27 feet of ribbon here. 27 feet is 9 yards. Have you ever heard the term the whole 9 yards?
Oh.
That's where this came from. Don't use the whole 9 yards. It's all you got.
Interesting. I didn't realize that's where that came
Around
from.
600, 640 rounds is what they have. And you can see on the side of that box there some examples of those 50 cals.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, watch your head as you go out. Okay, watch your head again here. Okay, here's the tail gunner. If you want, you can poke your head there and look back at it. And you can see where he's set. You notice that seat? So there was a supplier to the Boeing company, that supplier's name that provided that seat.
For the bicycles?
Mm-hmm. They were in the war too.
Oh man, okay, I gotta see that now. Oh, there you go. It does look like a bicycle seat, doesn't it?
Yes.
That is super cool. Super neat.
If you come back here, I like this view of it because you can just see how big this plane is.
Yeah, it's a pretty good size.
In 1935, when the first one rolled out in Seattle, Washington, at Plant 2, there was a Seattle Times reporter that was there that saw this thing roll out. It's huge, nothing as big as this to that time. Saw this huge plane roll out, 4 engines, guns everywhere, and he said, "Oh my gosh, that thing is a flying fortress." And the name stuck from airplane number 1 rollout through 12,731 of these.
There you go.
So maybe want to first look at this image. See how this guy's just sitting in this ball. It's called a ball tree. Now you got to look at. He's turned the other way. So the back of his head's where my hand is, looking through the gun sight, and 250 cals are on the opposite side.
The handle's right there. How he closes the door, isn't it?
That's right. Now up above here is his controls.
That's nuts.
So he is actually riding in this ball. It turns 360 degrees. It just spins all the way around. And
so he uses this to spin him and do his thing.
To control. Yep, control his position.
Good
and then
Lord
it comes
of
down,
mercy.
Then the guns come down, so he's rotating with it down so he can shoot at anything trying to come up from below. But he's riding in the ball.
So Silas, you're even too big to have been a tail or a ball turret gunner.
Good.
Fantastic, wonderful. Well, thanks so much for the tour of this thing. It's fascinating. It's super neat. Yeah, so I was wondering what all these signatures are.
Those are Tuskegees.
What, for real?
For real. So
Wait, so these
are Tuskegee signatures.
So these were real Tuskegee Airmen, and
there's
wow,
Bob Friend's signature right there.
And that's who this was dedicated to.
Airplane.
Yeah.
Harry Stewart. The rest of these are pilots, or they were with. But Harry Stewart won the Top Gun trophy in the U.S. Air Force when they reorganized in 1949. I have to check that, I think, but he actually won the Air Force's Top Gun trophy, and he has, I believe, 3 kills on a pass with the Focke-Wulf 190s.
Oh wow!
And he made a pass. He hit 2 of them, and the third guy bailed out.
I don't blame him.
It was right towards the end of the war.
Oh yeah, right.
They were not, those guys. If they looked like they were going to get shot down, they were hitting the silk. So.
Yeah. What was one of your favorite stories that he would tell?
Probably, I was interviewing him at the Nixon Library. Put his hand on my arm, and he looked me in the eye, and he said, "I was never out to kill the other pilot. I was only out to prove I could fly better than they could." And I thought that was a very interesting way of looking at aerial combat. He told a great story. He bailed out twice of Mustangs.
Oh wow!
Which is also an interesting thing. And the second time, I believe it was the second time he bailed out, and I may have the engine cut out. So he rolled over in this storm and bailed out of the airplane.
So he went inverted so he could fall out of the airplane.
And so he falls out of the airplane at night, and he somewhere, he doesn't really know where he is. I think where he is, but so the light comes on in the house, and the door swings open, and there's this woman screaming in Italian, "Ah!" And she has a huge butcher knife, And he's like, she comes running out of the house and he's like, oh no, you know, he doesn't want to shoot this woman. He doesn't know what to do. She runs right past him, grabs the parachute, cuts the strings on the parachute, and runs back in the house, and the light goes off. She was only after the silk, probably to make dresses.
What?
For the parachute silk.
That is the most bizarre, weird thing that I've ever heard. And I prefer seeing them with drip pans, little bits of, you know, like the Spitfire here. I like seeing that with things around the quick, you know, the screws and stuff like that, because it means it actually flies.
Yeah, we do, you know, we have about 14 airplanes that we fly, give or take. Some come and some go, depending on the annuals and all the basic stuff. But I don't, the biggest problem I have is that I watch what you do and everything. I hate airplanes getting cut up.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know, fighters and airplanes. So I just cringe. And so you want to save every one of them, and you realize, you know, sometimes you just can't do that.
Yeah.
And that's been difficult. And the other thing is being realistic about what they, you know this, what they cost.
Oh my goodness.
And when you did the Elvis thing, I'm like, oh, he's low. Oh,
yeah. See, Elvis, people were like, there's no way it would cost $5 million. I was like, you have no idea. That's just if everything perfectly goes right, with no issues in the middle.
It was. I wasn't surprised, and we run into this. So.
Yeah, I couldn't even. Whenever we got that MiG-15 and did that, we got the metal work and stuff done. So technically, you could fly the thing. But we're like, it's 12 years since the last time. Well, 13 now. So you got to go through everything, front to back, top to bottom.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the same boat. And a lot of it's, you know, it's liability.
Right.
You know, it would be cool to do that, but the alternative is you end up with an airplane that's in 10,000 pieces. That didn't solve anybody's problem. Some of them, you know, we do run up a lot of aircraft in our facility, other than the 14. A lot of the World War II fighters, like the Wildcat, some of those, but we only ground run them.
Yeah.
Because they just, if we ever wanted to fly them, we'd have to pull the plant, send it out. You know, you got to worry about bearings. I mean, you know, before it was restored.
See, now that is a will it start.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You guys found it in the bottom of one of the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I think the Navy had it, and then they gave it to us. It's on loan from the Naval Aviation Museum. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. And we restored it.
Wow. So does this one run now?
No, it's
okay,
just static.
I didn't know if it was.
Yeah, it's spending that much time underwater.
You know.
They're pretty much done. They made great display airplanes.
Yeah.
And they did a really nice job with it.
That's pretty neat.
This
So
is
what's
one
the
of
difference between this and the S&J or the
T6? This is the T6. This is you can see it's got the actual. I mean, it's a dedicated dive bomber. It's got the flaps and the whole 9 yards.
Oh, okay.
So but you got to remember it's beefed up for dive bombing. And then that bar there, some people don't realize what that is that throws the bomb away from the airplane.
So it comes down and goes. Woof.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. So this bar right here attaches to the bomb, yet you can see it, and when he releases it, it swings in. And then the bomb starts spinning this thing.
Yeah, and that's the fuse. And then the idea is to get it out of the prop arc. The TBM, that's actually in George Bush's colors. This is the airplane after the one that he was shot down in Chichijima, the colors.
Okay. God, the size of the propeller on that thing is insane.
And it was at one time the largest airplane that operated off of U.S. aircraft carrier. Then the Corsair, which is always a favorite.
Oh yeah.
Now I'll let you in on a little secret with this one.
Okay.
This one actually has battle damage.
Oh. So
And
actual, like,
this one, it got it in the soccer wars,
okay.
which were down in Central America. The last fight between P51s and Corsairs on opposing sides.
What?
Yeah, they got into a fight down there, and they had two different air forces, and the one side was Corsairs and one side was P51s.
Weird. Okay.
And you see in the gear door right there is a bullet hole.
Oh, cool. So that is a bullet hole. You know, watching the things on this, I always wondered why the wings were bent up like that. Because of the propeller size. They had to bend it up right there in order for the propeller not to hit the ground whenever they were on,
that's correct,
on their mains going, or otherwise they would hit the ground. Does this one still fly?
It ground runs.
Okay, it ground runs.
A lot of
I saw
our-
it all hooked up with
Yeah.
like, batteries and stuff.
We ground run most of the fighters. The two that we fly consistently right now are the P63 and the P51.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, now this is a TF P40 in that it has a full, you could fly it from the back. It's 2 seats.
Oh, so
it
it
has
could be
a
used
stick
as a
and a full
trainer
console. So you
and
can use it
kind
as
of
a
thing?
trainer.
Wow. Yeah, the P40 Warhawk. You know all these planes were designed by like 12-year-old boys.
Yes.
This is how big of an engine can we put on it? How many guns
How
can
many
we...
guns? That's
Yes.
very true.
Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, we got I mean, there's just so much. I don't even know how long this video is so far. We're probably just an hour into this part of the video, and we still have a whole bunch more. So let's hit the...
Let's hit miles. We'll hit Korea, Vietnam.
Yeah, let's start seeing the jet stuff.
You know your civilian aircraft. That's actually Clay Lacy's airplane.
Why do I know that name?
Was basically like Clay Lacy Aviation.
Okay.
Heavily involved with the Lears.
Oh, okay.
And that's his Lear. Clay Lacy's, I believe that's a 727 nose. We salvaged that. They scrapped the rest of the airplane. That's the airplane that was in the equator. You know, when year 2000 flew one side year in 99, the other year in 2000.
Oh, that's pretty neat. No, I didn't know that. Possibly one of the sexiest airplanes
Oh yeah.
to ever be created. I think like the SR-71, and then there's the Lear 20, basically all the Lears, you know, the 24, the 35, all those are just, you just want to lift
Well,
them.
didn't you have like Motley? You had some Motley
Yes,
Crue
it was the
something.
35.
Yeah.
And I found out about that one is it was repoed for like taxes or something like that.
no.
And apparently Vince Neil created a charter company to then lease these jets to other rock stars or
Right.
celebrities or whatever. And it went belly up and he never bothered to pay any of the taxes or whatever. So then the government of Miami, Broward County, they seized it as
wow.
to help pay the taxes that they owed, and that's why it was being auctioned off. No logbooks, no anything for that airplane. I have no idea what the final selling price was, but that's what I
Wonder
knew.
if they-
At the same airport,
Yeah.
Lear number 1, or
Really?
number 1 or number 2, it was sitting there for the last like 25 years, rotting away on the ramp. And for the longest time, I kept asking about it. Well, finally, the daughter, I don't know her name, but it's Lear, like whoever the guy that created Lear was. Is that him? Lacy?
Well, Lacy, that's Lacy, Clay Lacy.
Oh, Clay.
Yeah.
Well, whoever.
Yeah.
The Lear family, whoever was the founder of that, the daughter who's still alive, they got that jet. My understanding is they even were able to fly it from there out to Midwest somewhere like Oklahoma or wherever they're at.
To restore it?
And they're either statically restoring it or they're going to be flying it again. Serial number either 1 or 2.
Well, this one flew in. It is retired. She will live here forever.
And just, gosh, that is just such a beautiful airplane. You're not allowed to see this.
Top secret.
Top secret. we're in Area 51 that officially does not exist.
Yes, this area does not exist, and we'll have to eat your camera when we're done.
That's right, yeah.
The F-117, this is stealth fighter tail number 833, second highest combat time stealth in the fleet. The highest combat time is on a stick at the Reagan Library.
Wow.
Outside the Reagan Library. And the aircraft, when it came in, it looked like that candy over there where it was completely stripped.
So this is what it looked like. Is this aluminum, magnesium, or something?
I think it's aluminum. There's other, metal in the airplane, but they blast the whole thing, and then it basically comes stripped, and then our job is to put it back into like it flew.
Like what we think it should look like.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Feast was the first guy in the Gulf War. He was the first aircraft F-117 in. So he was also the guy that dropped the first bomb on a proof of concept outside the Panamanian self-defense forces when the first time they ever used stealth.
That we can now talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what they ended up doing is they called up the Panamanians and they basically said, "You see that parking lot out front? Just watch that." And the bomb landed right in the middle of the parking lot. And so they called back, they're laughing, and they're going, "Well, you missed." And they go, no, that's where we wanted it to go. The next one is in the building.
All right.
Surrender, and they all surrendered.
Yeah.
So at least that's how the story goes.
Well, I got to say, you have quite the collection here, and I will tell you my biggest appreciation is that you fly, or at least keep as many of them as operationally as they can be. So from the bottom of my heart, and I know I speak for the viewers when I say thank you for that. Thank you for that.
We try, and it's just a challenge of money and resources.
Money, just
who
money.
cares?
We just print off some more, right?
But
and
we do the best we can, and we get a lot of people that support us, and we really appreciate that. And thank you for coming out.
Oh, it's my pleasure. If you ever go to sell one, the Bearcat or something like that.
I'll call you. You come on down.
Yeah,
sure.
We'll we'll see if it'll start up, fly back.
I'd be happy to do that. I enjoy your videos where you like, will this fly? I don't know if it'll fly or not. I think that's one of the funniest things that I like watching about it. So.
Oh, that's.
Unfortunately, with ours, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Will it fly?
I mean, you could.
You could, but that's not a good idea.
Yeah. I will tell you though wait, there's a penny of the stealth one here. I didn't see this. Is there one of these in every hangar?
Yes.
I need a lot more money in pennies.
Get some quarters, and we'll get you some pennies.
Yeah, we're gonna have to come back through and do that because we got the B-17.
Ah, there you go.
I got that one.
Did you see that front section of that B-29?
Yes. So naturally, whenever you're here, you got to get your squished penny. And let's see, which one do we want? Tigercat, Bearcat, Hellcat, Wildcat. I think a Wildcat. That's what I'm thinking. Oh look, it's already on it. Yes. And now, ready? Boom, Wildcat. Wow. Oh look, got a couple pennies in. Sweet.